your invitation was very kind. We really do appreciate it. And thank all of you for having me here today. And I thank a couple of my friends who came along, lend their moral support. Ron Paul people are in way over there next year. We meet after often. And when I arrive, it makes me fast like this. I don't know what you guys are doing. And I've never given a speech before. But I do know this, that it's a good idea to start off with a joke. So, when Bill Clinton was president, that was the joke. Well, you may have noticed that Ron Paul supporters are extremely passionate about the candidate. Here's a couple of examples of things that we pulled on. On December 16th, we donated over $6 million to his campaign in one day. That's a record in American political history. And that's also on the heels of a $4.2 million donation just 6 weeks earlier. On November 10th, in Sioux City, Iowa, the Democratic Party held a fundraiser attended by Pelosi, Hillary, Obama, Edwards, and all the other usual suspects. It was a sit-down dinner with entertainment, many heathens, and whatever it is that Democrats do when they get together in large numbers. The local media, it was more than 5,000. Can you think of any other Republican who could have drawn that many under those circumstances? Or a funeral maybe, but not a rally. Oh, by the way, did you know, speaking of passion, that donations to presidential candidates from active U.S. military goes to Ron Paul overwhelmingly over the rest of the field combined? You may have heard this called the Ron Paul Revolution, but you need to know we haven't yet even begun in earnest, and soon we will be a powerful force working passionately to put conservatives in Washington, and with a million eagle eyes, we will watch their vote. And I ask you, you folks have been the core of the party for years. We haven't. And I ask you, when you pledge to do what we will do and watch our representatives closely, I ask you to ask yourself why that hasn't been happening. Because in the state of affairs we're in now, it's clear that we haven't been watching, and I'm part of that too. Candidates dedicated to following the Constitution are already emerging from our ranks, and with the most American of messages, that of small government and personal liberty, they cannot help but prevail if we work together. So why is our passion many orders of magnitude greater than what has been exhibited for any other Republican candidate in the last generation? Maybe more. I don't mean numbers. That will come. I mean passion. Ron Paul says it's the message, not the man. But there are some important things about the man that you should know. In 10 terms in Congress, he has never voted to raise taxes. He has never voted for an unbalanced budget. He has never taken a government-paid junket. He returns a portion of his annual congressional office budget to the U.S. Treasury every year. He does not take part in the Congressional Pension Plan, and he's a retired OBGYN who's delivered about 4,000 babies, and he is staunchly pro-life. And he doesn't allow lobbyists in his office. And honestly, I don't know that you could make any of those statements truthfully about anyone else in Washington, maybe a few, and you can make all of those statements truthfully about Ron Paul. Years before John McCain dreamed he would be running against Ron Paul, he called Ron Paul, quote, the most honest man in Congress. Now here's what John McCain, especially the last one, because that would pretty much take care of all the others. Some in the party hold these truths to be self-evident, that all Republicans are worthy of our vote, and that you're either with us or you're with the Democrats. But of course, those statements are neither true nor self-evident. We will vote our conscience. We will support a candidate, regardless of party affiliation, if that candidate shows a strong dedication to constitutional limits. We will put the Republic ahead of the Republican Party, patriotism ahead of peer pressure, and policy ahead of politics. Because here's where playing politics has gotten us. A debt of over $9 trillion, $60 trillion of unfunded entitlement liabilities. A currency that is plummeting and that many will fear will stop plummeting only when the entire system falls. Many credit Ronald Reagan for winning the Cold War by forcing the Soviet Union to spend itself out of existence on its military. And yet many think we should continue to spend astronomical amounts on our military. And maybe they're right, but it did not work out too well for the USSR. What's approaching is not a dangerous storm cloud that threatens to batter our economy. What's approaching is an asteroid that will crush our financial system if we don't make immediate, major, fundamental changes. Ron Paul is the only candidate who has the command of this issue. He does not need economic advisors because he can school anyone. By the way, if you think the message of returning to the gold standard is antiquated, consider that in 1966, Alan Greenspan made a case for a return to the gold standard in the paper titled Gold and Economic Freedom. Well, you say that was way before he joined the Fed and learned a better way. But not so fast, because in October of 2007, just a few months ago, here's what Greenspan said in a Fox News interview, and this is a quote. Some mechanism has got to be in place that restricts the amount of restrict the amount of money which is produced. Either a gold standard, the currency board, or something of that nature. Because unless you do that, all of history suggests that inflation will take hold with very deleterious effects on economic activity. As I said, Ron Paul can school anyone. And by the way, Ronald Reagan once told Ron Paul personally that all great companies whose currencies are not backed by gold don't stay great countries for very long. How many of you are aware that on September 10, 2001, Donald Rumsfeld announced to Pentagon officials that the Pentagon could not account for $2.3 trillion? Raise your hand if you ever heard that. It was on CBS and their latest video was hit. He said it himself. Do you find that disturbing? Did you find it disturbing when former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright said that the deaths of 500,000 Iraqi children were worth it because that was more like Stalin, not the highest-ranking diplomat in the United States? Did you find it disturbing, or did you even know, when Supreme Court Justice Scalia said last week about interrogations in certain circumstances, quote, it would be absurd to say that you cannot use something under the fingernail? Did you know that he said that? Does that bother you? Did you find it disturbing when General Michael Hayden, at the time the Principal Deputy Director of National Intelligence back in 2006, debated at length with a reporter that the Fourth Amendment makes no mention of probable cause? Or that 4 months later he became Director of the CIA, a position he still holds? He doesn't know what the Fourth Amendment says. You might not be concerned about all of that, but I hope you're concerned about some of that. That's not the America that I thought I was growing up in. Is every piece of that the America that we want? Am I wrong for being concerned? Is Ron Paul wrong for being concerned? When you take an oath to support and defend the Constitution, and by extension, you must support the President, a candidate who promises to follow the Constitution and has a long history of respecting the limits it places on the federal government. How can you promise to support and defend the Constitution and help nominate a candidate whose voting record belies strict adherence to that document? It's not too late. If you are a delegate to the 4 alternates to the National Convention, I ask you to look closely at your oath, your conscience, and the records of all the candidates and the Constitution. If you do that and you have the courage to follow your oath wherever it may lead, I believe your conscience will lead you to Ron Paul. Please don't let peer pressure override your oath. So help you God. Thank you.